Welcome to this episode on how to manifest what matters most to your mission. We are going to dive into some of the top illusion lies, what the guides and I call illusion lies, which you can also think of as the biggest pitfalls or speed bumps or friction or mistakes that I see in the transformational space and also in our clients and that I've experienced personally, as well as illuminate the spiritual truths, the universal principles that are really building blocks to manifesting what matters most to you. So among also the energetic support and learning some cool stuff in this podcast, I'm really inviting you to pay attention to a shift in perception, because when you shift your perception, it can be one of those small hinges that swings big doors. When you shift how you see the world, it really can support you in being back in alignment with manifesting what matters most. So before we dive into the illusion lies, I wanted to set the stage in two ways. Energetically, I pulled a card from our Magdalene Manifestation Card Deck. And then also, I wanted to just talk briefly about the manifest stage. As we have, you may have heard of it, our kind of signature framework at Divine Transmissions, the 5 stages that to create your extraordinary work and life with source. And so the manifest stage is one of the stages. So let's set the stage and then we'll dive into the illusion lies. So the card that I pulled for this podcast was just so amazing, I had to share it, is the Magdalene Heart. Magnificent receiver. Your realized dream is closer than you may think. Open to receive more without doing more. So if you're watching on the video, I'm holding up the card, open to receive more without doing more, and your Magdalene Heart, which speaks to one of our illusion lies that we are going to dive into. So when it comes to the manifest stage in your path of creating your unique, extraordinary work in life with source, there's not a one size fits all blueprint, right, for us to manifest, which is one of the illusion lies that we're going to dive into. However, I have seen that when it comes to really creating our legacy work with source, that there are common stages that we all go through at some point. And so today's topic really talks about the manifest stage. And the manifest stage is about bringing your highest vision into the world while being very well supported. Bringing your highest vision into the world while being very well supported. One of the biggest breakdowns that I often see with our clients when it comes to the manifest stage is quitting before your desire comes into fruition. There's this like quitting on your vision before it's actualized is one of the biggest breakdowns in the manifest stage. And when it comes to manifesting, physicalizing, creating in the physical plane, there's a lot that happens in the higher planes and in the unseen world. It's like if you're planting tomatoes, the tomato seed has everything within it to grow into a tomato. However, you can't see everything that's in the tomato seed. If you didn't know it was a tomato seed, for example, you plant it under the ground. There's so much that's happening before that sprout happens and before it comes into physical form. So really just inviting you to just notice if you have in the past or you currently are quitting on your vision before it's actualized, and to stay the course, to keep going. That is one of the breakdowns when it comes to the manifest stage. And so that's a little bit about the manifest stage and the energetic setting the stage and the physical plane setting the stage. And so one of the biggest illusion lies that I wanted to talk about in this podcast is what I think I should be manifesting is actually what matters most to me. So this ties into our topic, how to manifest what matters most to you and your mission. What I think I should be manifesting is actually what matters most to me. Or another way to look at this illusion lie is one size fits all when it comes to manifesting. So there is an an uncoupling here around like think we should be manifesting. And so I really encourage you to tune in and notice if some of the things that you've been choosing or thinking that you should manifest that haven't been manifesting, if one of the reasons that they're not manifesting may be because it's not actually what matters most to you. So the illusion lie is this kind of one size fits all when it comes to manifesting. And the guys often talk about how there is universal and unique. So there's universal things that we all desire, that may be love and to have a home and to have and not even having a home. Not every Some people love uh, to live in a houseboat, or it can be so unique. But there are these universal desires that we often have, and then there are the unique ones. And so and then there's like the collective consciousness ones, or what society says that we think that we should have. And then we start going for those and we realize that they're actually not what matters most to us. So I'm going to share a story about that from my experience here in a moment. But the spiritual truth is really what matters most to you is custom tailored to you and your incarnation. It's so specific to you. It's so bespoke to you. As a part of the card spread for this podcast, I also pulled the Magdalene Love Being card, which is the Akashic Manifesting. And Akashic Manifesting speaks to what we're talking about here, because in your Akashic records, the records of your soul's incarnation, you come into this lifetime with certain things that are important to your evolutionary path, that are important to you, and also just your preferences and your unpreferences, what you don't like, your likes and your dislikes, also are so unique to you. So this first illusion lie that we're busting, the first perception shift, is what I think I should be manifesting is actually what matters most to me. Another way of saying that is one size fits all when it comes to manifesting. And the spiritual truth is what matters most to you is custom tailored to you and your incarnation. So I remember some years back when I was really focused on like creating a 7-figure year in my business, when I was going from multiple 6 figures to 7 figures. And so that was like my thing. Like, oh, I wanted to have a 7-figure year. I wanted to have a 7-figure. And I thought that mattered most to me. And so I was going for it and doing all the things. And I did not create a 7-figure year that year. And what ended up happening was that over those years, because it wasn't just one year, right? Like I was kind of gearing up for it for some years, and was bumping up against an income ceiling, beautiful income ceiling. I was fulfilled, deeply fulfilled by what I was creating, and you're not creating that. And what I actually did manifest or actualize was owning our home free and clear. As we'd had like a long mortgage and a big mortgage. And when it came to what mattered most to me in my lifetime and in my incarnation, and this is based on past lives, and you may have heard me share this story before, but it's so important, is that like owning a home free and clear, it was really aligned for me. It was really important to me. It was like an Akashic milestone of what mattered most to me in this lifetime, of perhaps past lifetimes of having to flee a property, or that it wasn't until the 70s that women could own a home without having a spouse or a father or a brother on their property. So there's so many different layers about that, where, like, sure, 7 figures in a year, it sounded good, but it didn't really matter most to me and my mission. And so just inviting you to tune into this first illusion lie and see if there's some uncoupling for you to do around this question of what really matters most to you. And if there are any shoulds, like I should be manifesting a partner, or I should be manifesting uh, uh, bigger, better, faster, more, right? Because that can also just be a drive of like, oh, I've of separation consciousness, lack consciousness, scarcity consciousness, and also collective consciousness, where you don't really want more. Like for me, my most abundant moments can be going for a walk in the forest with a friend, or going for a walk in the forest and talking to the guides, or going for a walk and listening to a podcast, because it brings together what matters most to me, some of my abundance values or desires, or what matters most to me, which is moving my body, being in nature, learning, growing, and connection. So this is where you get to really tune into, rather than the shoulds, like, oh, I should have this kind of a house or this, whatever it is, to actually, you may be quite happy in a caravan, or in a houseboat, or sharing a home with many roommates. So really just tuning in, seeing if there's any uncoupling that there's here for you to do. So the next illusion lie I wanted to talk about is that manifesting stuff is the destination, the prize, the reward. So I do want to emphasize that your mission requires resources. And this is something that the guides and I are such a stand for. We're going to get to that in the spiritual truth here. It requires resources. And however, there's this idea that that it's the carrot in front of your nose always, right? It's like you're always working towards getting the prize, getting the carrot, and yet the carrot just keeps moving, right? And you see this where you actualize something, and then of course you have a divine desire for something else. But this idea that the stuff and manifesting is the destination, it's the objective, it's the prize, is an illusion lie. The spiritual truth is being resourced, supported as you bring your vision into the world. It needs to be baked into the journey. It needs to be a part of the experience. And this is really a shift from the old paradigm of creating from lack, creating from fear, creating from doubt, creating from scarcity, into the new paradigm of really being deeply supported. And there's so many illusion lies that are kind of tied to other illusion lies. So I know we're going through a small handful of these in rapid succession, and yet they're interconnected. They kind of end up being one thing, which is a larger illusion lie. And so the next illusion lie that I want to talk about, because it's so closely related to this one, and then I want to share a story of what I'm seeing with our clients, what I'm seeing in the transformational space happening, that I feel like is kind of a symptom of these illusion lies, is that it's my hard work and overworking, like all the do, and sometimes you may find yourself in overworking, that really is a symptom to make up for a lack of alignment, or my devoted meditation energy, which sometimes can verge on the edge of wishful thinking or be flat out wishful thinking, uh, is what creates my results. So it's my hard work or my inner work that creates my results. And the spiritual truth is aligning your being with your doing creates amplified results. Aligning your being with your doing creates amplified results. And that goes back to our Magdalene heart, open to receive more without doing more. That sometimes, especially the clients that we work with, like you're already in action, you're already taking action. And so it may be in that case, really tying your action to your alignment, how it is that you can leverage the non-physical planes, the higher planes to create on the physical plane with your doing. And other folks we see, and this kind of ties into what I'm seeing with our clients, is that there's a lot of doing that's happening, but it's not energetically connected, or it's doing without it being really inspired or guided action. And so the last illusion lie I want to share, and then I'm going to talk about the story that or what I'm really noticing in our clients to assist in grounding this in and going into more like, well, how is it that you matter what's most to you? And the big how to here is that you shift your perception. Is the illusion lie, if I'm abundant financially, physically, relationship, time, successful with my contribution, there's this, you may find yourself saying this illusion lie to yourself, like, will I be safe being this visible? Will I be safe being this visible? And the spiritual truth here is there's no safe or not safe in unity consciousness. Being visible and resource is actually more safe than hanging back or trying to create from an unsupported stance. And so, I remember someone I was dating, and we were like in that new love couple phase, and we were, like just in that glow in love stage, and we're going to visit a friend of his, and he was very uncomfortable sharing that we were in love and connected, and because to him it felt like his friend was single, and it was like rubbing it in her face that she didn't have a relationship. And so this kind of like hiding the abundance, or will I be this safe being this visible, because most likely you're sensitive and there's a part of your system that can feel the judgment of others, or there may be some of that illusion lies that are running of like, if I am healthy and I'm around somebody that's sick, then they might feel bad because I'm healthy, which is just, it doesn't make any sense. Like my health can't, or it's not going to take away somebody's lack of health. Or if you're energized, if you're abundant, if you have love, if you have success, that somehow that takes it away from somebody else, or it's not safe for you to have that. And energetically, when you're supported, when you're nourished, you're fully occupying your field. And that's a bigger conversation, but you're fully occupying your field, and then there's no space for others, individuals, like judgments or perceptions to be a part of your experience. So just to review, because I know that was a lot. Number one, the illusion lie is what I think I should be manifesting is actually what matters most to me. The spiritual truth is what matters most to you is custom tailored to you and your incarnation. And when you have clarity on what matters most to you, and we do go into this in our What Matters Most to You Birthright of Love activation, which is one of the first activations in the Magdalene codes. If you want to check it out, the link will be in the show notes for that here. That really having clarity on what you want, because sometimes you don't actualize what it is that you want because you're not clear on what it is that you actually want. So illusion lie number one is one size fits all when it comes to manifesting. The spiritual truth is what matters most to you is custom tailored to you and your incarnation. Illusion lie number two is manifesting stuff is the destination, the prize, the reward. The spiritual truth is being resourced, supported as you bring your vision into the world, needs to be baked into the journey. Illusion lie number three that we've covered, it's my hard work or my devoted meditation inner game that creates my results. The spiritual truth is when you align your being with your doing, you create amplified results. The fourth illusion lie is that if I'm abundant financially, physically, relationship, time, successful, my contribution, uh, will I be safe being this visible? You may find yourself saying, will I be safe being this visible? And the spiritual truth is being visible and resource is actually more safe than being in lack or hanging back. So when there are these illusion lies running, what may start to happen is that you actually aren't focused on the next natural step or action that's going to lead you to your destination. And I'm really seeing this a lot, and I've seen this over the years where there may be unconsciously or accidentally a repelling of the next aligned action that will actually bring you closer to actualizing what it is that that you actually desire. Because if there's unsafety associated with manifesting what matters most, then unconsciously, or the human self, what the guides call the bipedal self, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 legs, 2 arms, the survival instinct may kind of get you on a different rabbit holes, like put you down different rabbit holes, or there may be different distractions, um, or what you're saying you want to manifest hasn't been tied to what matters most to you. So, for example, in our academy, when we work with clients, or in our Magdalene Codes program, someone may say, like, they may come to the program to say, well, I really want to manifest a loving relationship, or I really want to spend more time my way, or have more freedom of time. Or they may say, I really want to expand my financial resources. And so there's some desire, and 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 then rather than actually kind of staying the course with that desire, planting the seed of that desire, watering that desire, fertilizing that desire, uh, they'll go into they'll do something different that takes them on a different path. So, for example, someone who says they want to increase their income in their business, and then rather than doing income producing activities, which may be offering their services to someone, inviting somebody to work with them, uh, they'll go into recreating or creating another thing, which actually isn't going to get them to having more income. Or someone might say, I would love to have my book published. I've written my book and it's in my computer. And then they stop at the creation, like they stop and then don't take the next step to write a book proposal, to let folks ask folks that they know, does anybody have an agent or have a thing. So it's almost like the survival pattern, to be very clear. I've done it, I do it, we all do it. We've all done it in some way or another. And this is where like having the awareness really makes a big difference. Getting really aware and clear on what it is that you're saying you're focusing on, because what you focus on increases. That's like a universal truth. What it is that you're focusing on, are you taking the aligned action and staying the course that's actually going to get you there? Or is your survival mechanisms putting blinders on or having you in a procrastination, distraction, illusion lie, where you're accidentally not going where you want to end up? So you've probably heard that like a plane is always making micro adjustments if it's going from Miami to New York. If it's not auto correcting like all the time or making the micro adjustments, it can end up in another country. And so that's where you may found yourself now, like thinking you've manifested what matters most to you, or you're trying to go for what matters most to you. And yet you find yourself somewhere where you didn't actually want to be, or somehow you've gotten a little bit off track. And so it's really important to do the inner work, and then to really keep focused, like be vigilant, be aware, like have your awareness on it, so that you're looking to see if you're actually going on the path that will lead you to what it is that you're choosing to create, or if there's some disconnect in there where you say you're going to New York, but then you find yourself in California or something like that. So I want to be really clear that when we talk about illusion lies and we talk about where you may find yourself, there's no blame in this. There's no shame in this. There's so much conditioning. There's so much, so many decades, so many lifetimes that the unconscious behaviors or beliefs or habits or energies can really be running. And it is important to do the inner work, to uncouple them. And that's why the guides and I love activations, because the activations, whether it's the birthright of love, code of love that gets ignited, or the other activations that we do, it energetically brings something into a place of completion and activates the that which was dormant that you actually need to manifest what matters most to you. Because most likely, and I'm sure of it, it's not your first spiritual growth rodeo, right? Like you've done a lot of inner work, and yet if you're not experiencing permanent results, like in my back conversations with the guides, sometimes I go, okay, like, why are we still talking about slower vibrations? Why haven't we moved on to only be talking about the new paradigm and unity consciousness and how it is like that? And they'll say, well, do you have slower vibrations, or are any of your clients having slower vibrations? Like, yes. So that's why we're still talking about it, because it's still happening. And not like it's still right. Like I can get impatient, right? I've been on my path for consciously for a long time in this lifetime, some decades, and I'm sure a lot of you have as well. Not to mention the past lives. So there can be a little bit like, why isn't this working? Why isn't all the inner work I've done, why hasn't it paid off? And it may be because you haven't addressed the energy of it. You haven't addressed the energy of it. So as we're wrapping up this podcast, I really am cheering you on, celebrating you, uh, inviting you to stay the course, to not give up on your vision until it's actualized, and to really be as much as you can in the spiritual truths, So what matters most to you is custom tailored to you and your incarnation. Being resource supported as you bring your vision into the world is a part of the destination, as a part of the journey. It needs to be baked into the journey. Align your being with your doing to create amplified results. Being visible and resource is actually more safe than hanging back. So I hope you have enjoyed this podcast, that you've created some perception shifts, that it started you on a deepening into a path you've already been on, yet brought a perception shift, an awareness shift. And if you're feeling called to find out more about the stages to create your legacy work in life, we've got a podcast on that. And if you'd like to reach out about the possibility of partnering together with the guides and myself, one of the greatest ways to do that is by joining one of our master classes. And we do have a birthright of love activation, manifesting what matters most to you. So that is not only the perception shift, but where the guides and I work with your system directly to support your system in creating the energy shift so that you have a permanent shift in this, and then you're aligned with going directly for what it is that you desire from an aligned place of your being and your doing state. So sending much love and acknowledgement of your contribution to the evolution in consciousness. Thank you for being here and for tuning in, and bye for now.